All right. 47. The largest compass of a period, then, is that which can be rounded forth in one breath. This is the bound set by nature. Art has other limits, for as there is a great variety of numbers, your favorite Aristotle, Catullus, inclines to banish from oratorical language the frequent use of the iambus and the trochee, which, however, fall of themselves naturally into our common discourse and conversation. But the strokes of time in those numbers are remarkable, and the feet short. He therefore principally invites us to the heroic measure of the dactyl, the anapest, and the spondy, in which we may proceed with impunity 2 feet only, or a little more, lest we plainly fall into verse, or the resemblance of verse. These 3 heroic feet fall in gracefully enough with the beginnings of continuations of words, but the paeon is most of all approved by Aristotle. It is of 2 kinds, for it either begins with a long syllable, which 3 short syllables follow, as in these words, decenti, incipiti, comprehensibiti, or with a succession of 3 short syllables, the last being produced and made long, as in these words, dormorant, sonopedes, and it is agreeable to the notions of that philosopher to commence with the former paeon and to conclude with the latter. And this latter paeon is also equal, not indeed to the number of the syllables, but by the measure of the ear, which is a more acute in certain method of judgment, to the cretic, which consists of a long, a short, and a long syllable, as in this verse, all in Greek. Quid petan presete aut esquasar quo nuc, with which kind of foot Fannius began, se quateris mendis illus. This Aristotle thinks better adapted to conclusions of periods which he wishes to be terminated generally by a syllable that is long. 48. But these numbers in oratory do not require such sharp-sighted care and diligence as that which must be used by poets whom necessity compels, as do the very numbers and measures, so to include the words in versification as that no part may be, even by the least breath, shorter or longer than the meter absolutely demands. Prose has a more free scope, and is plainly, as it is called, soluta, confined, yet not so that it may fly off or wander without control, but may regulate itself without being absolutely in fetters. For I agree in this particular with Theophrastus, who thinks that style, at least such as is to a certain degree polished and well constructed, ought to be numerous, yet not as in confinement, but at ease. For as he suspect from those feet of which the common hexameter verse is formed, grew forth afterward the anapestic, a longer kind of measure, thence flowed the still more free and rich dithyramb, the members and feet of which, as the same writer observes, are diffused through all style that is enriched with the distinguishing ornaments of eloquence. And if that is numerous in all sounds and words, which give certain strokes, as it were, in which we can measure by equal intervals, this harmony of numbers, if it be free from sameness, will be justly considered a merit in the oratorical style. Since if perpetual and ever-flowing loquacity without any pauses is to be thought rude and unpolished, what other reason is there why it should be disliked except that nature herself modulates the voice for the human ear? And this could not be the case unless numbers were inherent in the human voice. But in an uninterrupted continuation of sound there are no numbers. Distinction in strokes at equal or often varied intervals constitute numbers, which we may remark in the falling of drops of water, because they are distinguished by intervals, but which we cannot observe in the rolling stream of a river. But as this unrestrained composition of words is more eligible and harmonious if it be distinguished into parts and members than if it be carried on without intermission, those members ought to be measured by a certain rule of proportion. For if those at the end are shorter, the compass, as it were, of the words is made irregular. The compass, I say, for so the Greeks denominate these rounded divisions of style. The subsequent clauses in a sentence, therefore, ought to be equal to the antecedent, the last to the first, or which has a better and more pleasing effect of a greater length.